Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're breaking down the essential vocabulary you need to really get a handle on the world of ethical artificial intelligence. This is a huge topic, and honestly, having the right words is the first step to being part of the conversation.
All right, so let's get right into it. The material we're working from today is Chapter 1 of a 7-chapter document. It's called Ethical AI and AI Security, a comprehensive glossary, and it's from Virtualization Options LLC. Now, the whole point of this glossary is to make these big, complicated ideas super clear, especially for a non-technical audience. That way we can all get on the same page.
I mean, this is really the fundamental question, isn't it? AI is incredibly powerful. We know that. But how do we make sure that it's also, good? Well, the answer starts with all of us having a shared language, a common ground for talking about these things. And that means understanding a few core concepts first.
So here's how we're going to tackle this. We'll start with the big picture, then move into governance and responsibility. After that, we'll talk about designing for people and wrap things up with some key design principles. Let's get started.
Okay, first up, the big picture. Let's lay down the core philosophies that guide this entire conversation around building AI that's safe and fair for everyone. So let's start with AI ethics. Think of this as the whole universe of this topic. It's not just tech. It's this huge interdisciplinary field that pulls in ideas from philosophy, law, sociology, you name it. Its whole job is to ask the really big questions about what's right and what's wrong as we build these incredibly powerful systems. Okay, so if AI ethics is the whole universe, then ethical AI is kind of like the conscience of that universe. It gets really specific, focusing on the philosophical principles and the real-world impact on society. This is the part that asks the tough why questions, like why are we building this, and should we even be building it at all? So let's put them side by side to really nail this down. AI ethics is the broad field of study, right? The whole shebang. It asks how to balance everything. But ethical AI is laser-focused on the philosophical principles. It asks why a technology should even exist. You can think of it like this. AI ethics gives you the toolbox, but ethical AI is the moral compass that tells you how to use it. And that brings us to our third term, responsible AI. Now, this is where the rubber really meets the road. It's about taking all those high-level ethical principles and good intentions and turning them into something concrete. Actual operational requirements, governance structures, things you can actually measure and hold people to.
All right, Section 2, Governance and Responsibility. It's one thing to have great ideas, but who actually makes the rules? And more importantly, who's in charge when things go south?
So what exactly is AI governance? Well, it's the whole framework of rules. It starts with developing policies, clear guidelines for what's okay and what's not. Then you need oversight, like review boards to keep an eye on these systems. And finally, you need compliance monitoring to make sure people are actually following the rules. It covers everything from a company's internal playbook to sweeping government regulations. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. This is all about accountability. Without it, what happens? A bank's algorithm denies loans unfairly, and they just shrug and say, hey, the algorithm did it. No way. Accountability means a person or a team has to be responsible. You can't just pass the buck to the machine. Okay, so we've got the big ideas and the rules. Now let's talk about designing for people, actually putting humans right at the center of all this. This is all about making sure technology serves us, not the other way around. Now, this is super important because fairness sounds simple, but it's actually really not. There are at least 4 different ways to think about it. You've got statistical, procedural, distributive, and individual fairness. And here's the kicker. Sometimes these can actually conflict with each other. For instance, an algorithm could be statistically fair across groups, but still treat 2 very similar individuals completely differently. It's a real balancing act. This brings us to something you might have heard of, human in the loop, or HITL. This is all about making sure that for high-stakes decisions, a human being is still in charge. A perfect example is content moderation. An AI might flag a post, but a human moderator is the one who looks at it, understands the context, the nuance, and makes that final call. You're keeping a person in the driver's seat. But this leads to a really important question, right? Is that human just becoming a rubber stamp? This is a huge challenge. We have to watch out for something called automation bias. It's that tendency we all have to just blindly trust what the computer tells us, especially if it's right most of the time. The human in the loop has to be actively engaged, not just clicking approve. And that leads us to inclusive design. This is all about being intentional from the very beginning. It means you're not just building for some average user. You're actively trying to build AI that works for everyone. And how do you do that? Well, you start by building diverse teams. You test with all kinds of different user groups. You build in accessibility from the ground up. It's about making sure no one gets left behind.
Okay, on to our last section, key design principles. Think of these as the absolute, non-negotiable building blocks for any tech that wants to call itself trustworthy.
First up is privacy by design. This is a huge one. It means you don't build your whole AI system and then, at the very end, go, oh, right, we should probably add some privacy stuff. No. It means privacy is baked in from the very first line of code. It's the default setting. It's about treating privacy as a core feature, not an add-out.
Next, we have the principle of proportionality. This is basically a common sense check. It asks, does the solution fit the problem? I mean, look at this. Using facial recognition AI just to take classroom attendance, that's way over the top. That's disproportionate. But using it to get into a high security facility, okay, that makes sense. It's all about not using a sledgehammer to crack a nut.
And last but not least, transparency. This is so important for trust. If a system is a total black box, how can you trust it? Transparency means you can get clear, simple answers to some basic questions. What does this thing actually do? How does it work? What data is it using? And crucially, what are its limits and risks? If you can't answer those, you don't have transparency.
So, there you have it. These are the building blocks. These are the words, the concepts we need to build responsible AI. And the question on the screen is for all of us, because understanding these terms isn't just an academic exercise. It's the first step. It gives us the power to ask the right questions, to demand better systems, and to actually shape a future where AI is fair, safe, and works for every single one of us.